Hello and welcome to Weekly News Highlights. Let's begin with the keywords that made headlines this week. In a historic ruling, former President Yoon Suk-yeol has been sentenced to life in prison after court found his declaration of martial law amounted to an attempt to overthrow South Korea's constitutional order. The verdict marks one of the most consequential judicial decisions in the country's democratic history. Artificial intelligence is moving beyond screens and into the real world. Known as physical AI, the technology is expected to reshape industries and redefine the future of work. South Korea has reaffirmed its dominance in short-track speed skating. The women's relay team captured gold in a 3,000-meter event, delivering the country's second gold medal of the Games and extending its historic Olympic legacy in the sport. Former President Yoon Suk-yeol has received a first-instance verdict on charges of leading an insurrection over his 2024 declaration of martial law. Our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
I will now pronounce the sentence. The defendant, Yoon Suk-yeol, is hereby sentenced to life imprisonment.
More than a year after his declaration of martial law, former President Yoon Suk-yeol was sentenced to life in a first-instance ruling that found his actions amounted to an attempt to overthrow the constitutional order. The verdict was delivered Thursday afternoon by Chief Judge Ji Gui-yeon at the Seoul Central District Court, with Yoon appearing in person as the proceedings were broadcast live nationwide. Judge Ji began by reading the indictment, followed by determinations on guilt or innocence, and an explanation of sentencing reasons before making the formal pronouncement of the verdict. In its decision, the court said it was difficult to deny that Yoon intended to paralyze the National Assembly by deploying troops to seal off the legislature and detain key political figures, thereby preventing parliamentary functions for a substantial period. While the declaration of martial law itself does not automatically amount to insurrection, the court ruled that this case qualified as such because it was carried out with the aim of disabling constitutional institutions. In sentencing, the court said Yoon had directly and proactively planned the crime and involved numerous individuals, noting the enormous social cost caused by the martial law declaration and criticizing the defendant for showing little sign of remorse. It also pointed out that Yoon repeatedly refused to attend trial hearings without a justifiable reason. At the same time, the court cited mitigating factors, including the apparent lack of meticulous planning, efforts to restrain the use of physical force, the absence of live ammunition or direct acts of violence, the failure of most plans, Yoon's lack of prior criminal record, his long career as a public servant, and his age of 65. These factors appear to be the reasons why Yoon was sentenced to life imprisonment as opposed to the death penalty as sought by prosecutors. 7 others were also sentenced, including former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun, who received 30 years in prison, and former National Police Agency Commissioner Cho Ji-ho, who was sentenced to 12 years. Following the sentencing, Yoon's defense team accused the judiciary of applying double standards and said they were considering an appeal, vowing to continue fighting to clear Yoon's name. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
As the court delivered its verdict on former President Yoon Suk-yeol over insurrection charges, citizens who resisted the 2024 martial law have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Our Plus correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The news coincided with the day of a major verdict on former President Yoon Suk-yeol for his insurrection charges tied to the 2024 martial law. South Koreans who resisted former President Yoon's martial law declaration have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize last month by a group of international political scientists. That's according to Seoul National University professor Kim Hee-young on Thursday, who is among that group. They described South Korean citizens' actions as a revolution of light and the case of defending democracy through nonviolence and civic participation. President Lee Jae-myung hailed the actions as a model for human history and said the progress will continue toward a country ruled by the people.
내란의 어둠을 평화적으로 이겨낸 우리 대한 국민들의 용기와 역량은 아마도 세계 민주주의 역사에 영원히 표속으로 남아 빛날 것입니다.
In an address delivered on the first anniversary of the martial law incident, Lee said the people who blocked military rule fully deserve the Nobel Peace Prize.
온 세계에 민주주의의 위대함을 알린 공로로 노벨 평화상을 받는다면 갈등과 분열로 흔들리는 모든 국가들에게 크나큰 전환점이 될 것입니다.
On the night when former President Yoon declared military rule, some citizens stood unarmed against martial law forces and military vehicles. Protests continued after the brief military rule was lifted, as people took to the streets holding light sticks and chanting K-pop songs to call for the removal of the president. Submissions for the Nobel Committee nominations closed in January. A shortlist will be prepared in the coming weeks, and the prize will be announced in October after a review and voting. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Even during the Lunar New Year holidays, South Korean troops remain on duty, keeping watch over the East Sea. From coastal patrols to rigorous training, soldiers stay mission-ready while connecting with their families through video calls. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung found this report from Gangneung.
Unlike most people who normally get festive with the Lunar New Year holidays, the soldiers in Gangneung see their usual day continuing from early morning as they guard the coastline of the East Sea. The 23rd Security Brigade's 1st Coastal Security Battalion oversees 40 kilometers of the Gangneung coastline, keeping a close eye on the coastline as they protect the country, even during the holidays. This battalion has made operations more efficient by combining input from all radars and video surveillance assets in one place, the Situation Room, and only having strike forces at each outpost. This enables the battalion commander to make direct, quick decisions, giving immediate orders to soldiers at outposts who are responsible for quick strikes.
Our battalion improved operational efficiency by combining surveillance at the battalion level with strike forces at the coastal company. This allows us to monitor the sea better and respond immediately in emergencies.
Even during the Lunar New Year holiday, these soldiers continue with their coastal surveillance training. That includes securing positions following the commander's orders. No blind spots are left unchecked, with drones monitoring cliffs and rocky areas that are difficult to keep a watch on. Duties are the utmost priority, but to let soldiers greet their parents and family, the battalion has set up facilities for video calls. A 21-year-old Korean Canadian, Aiden Kwon, who enlisted voluntarily, shared holiday greetings with his parents in Canada.
I just want to say Happy Korean New Year. Like, even during the holidays, I need to protect my country, because if no one else steps up, our country's at risk of war.
We're proud of you that you're honoring your Korean identity.
To stay sharp and alert, soldiers also do physical training as usual.
We will do our best in our duties so that everyone can enjoy the Lunar New Year holiday feeling safe.
From the front lines of the East Sea, the soldiers' vigilance continues for the safety of the country. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Gangneung.
North Korea has unveiled a new residential complex in Pyongyang for families of soldiers killed while fighting in the Russia-Ukraine war. The complex, called Seollal Street, was unveiled in a ceremony on Sunday, attended by leader Kim Jong-un and his daughter Kim Ju-ae. The North state-run Korea Central News Agency reporting the news on Monday said Kim hailed the project as a symbol of national strength and pride, vowing lifelong state support and preferential treatment for the bereaved families. Analysts in South Korea say the move is an attempt for the North to justify its war casualties, boost loyalty, and portray the deployment as a major success ahead of the 9th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party. The next evolution of artificial intelligence may lie in robots that can think and act in the physical world. Often called physical AI, the technology is raising major questions about jobs, productivity, and the future of work. For this week's Weekly Focus, our economics and business team brings a special in-depth report looking at the coming transition from multiple perspectives.
Until very recently, a human-like robot performing a backflip was something we could only imagine. While companies have been using robots in industrial settings for years, advances in artificial intelligence are driving robots toward the next generation, physical AI. And investors' excitement over the robots is already spilling into the financial markets. While it may take some time for Korean robots to be used in our daily lives, the stock market is already reacting positively. Shares in robotics-related companies have surged, in some cases by several hundred%. On the streets of Seoul, many people are already considering what humanoid robots might mean for the future.
We're seeing many robotics companies here developing machines that can be deployed directly at industrial sites. 2026 could mark the initial phase of introducing robots into real-world operations, and the investment community has high expectations.
And some are already thinking about the next step, how to use robots to improve efficiency.
There's a growing perception that humanoid robots can serve as a form of labor leverage. I think the more important question is how we can effectively integrate AI into our work processes and make the most of it.
Here in Seoul, expectations are high over the growing use of robots in industry, and the next generation of humanoids is still to come. But what about on the industrial front lines, for those who are actually working with the robots or even potentially being replaced? Let's turn to my colleague, Junho.
Thanks, Junan. Well, one place where human workers could be particularly affected by the rise of humanoid robots in industry is here, a southeastern coastal city of Ulsan. Known as South Korea's industrial capital, manufacturing defines daily life here, employing more people than anywhere else in the country. For many here in Ulsan, the future of automation is no longer abstract. It's already reshaping how people see their jobs. Concerns run deep for this worker in his 30s, just beginning his working life.
I'm definitely anxious. I'm worried that there will be fewer new hires and that the range of work we can choose from will narrow. We call it job rotation, the opportunity to switch roles. But if a robot takes over a whole process, there will be far fewer positions to apply for.
Having spent nearly half his career as a contract worker, this employee of 25 years first thought of those most vulnerable in times of change.
Contract workers don't have much of a cushion. They are the most exposed, and any instability will reach them first. That's what worries me about the younger generation.
For this veteran of 35 years, there remains a window before adoption, and it all depends on how that time is used.
New technology doesn't mean everything changes at once. The company will continue to make the most of current production lines, while gradually moving toward new systems. There is still time during this transitional period for labor, management, and the government to work out solutions together.
This new reality demands a new strategy. Amid the unstoppable tide of AI and robotics, South Korea's industrial heartland is facing a defining moment. My colleague Do-yeon takes us to where decisions are being made that could determine Ulsan's fate.
Thanks, Junong. The efficiency of physical AI is undeniable, but here at the National Assembly, the calculation is different. Machines do drive production, but they don't decide elections. So the question is, how do we protect the voter without stopping innovation and prepare for a soft landing amid the transition? National Assembly member Kim Sang-uk is one of the lawmakers representing Ulsan.
If we simply resist this change, the outcome is clear. Companies will move overseas, jobs will vanish, and the very foundation of Korean manufacturing will collapse, dragging the entire economy down with it.
Meanwhile, lawmaker Choi Eun-seok has proposed a soft landing bill to complement South Korea's existing AI Basic Act.
We must prioritize education and retraining. By helping our workers adapt to new, complex roles in this evolving landscape, we can ensure no one is left behind in the transition.
While at early stages of talks, lawmakers are also looking at ways to make sure everybody directly benefits from physical AI and ease the concerns over job losses.
Instead of corporate ownership, imagine a citizen-funded model where profits from robot labor are redistributed back to the people. In the long run, implementing a robot tax or automation tax will be an inevitable necessity.
Most importantly, both lawmakers call for a unified national dialogue. They see this not just as a challenge, but as an opportunity for South Korea to lead the world in balancing innovation with labor.
As the AI era arrives, we must proactively address how it will reshape our labor and daily lives. Now is the time to pool our wisdom to ensure that human value isn't lost in the age of machines.
Now, with the transition to AI seemingly inevitable, the world is watching to see if business, labor, and both sides of the aisle can come together to set a new global standard for the future. 김도연,
박준환,
김준홍, 아리랑 뉴스.
South Korea's benchmark stock market reopened on Thursday following the 3-day Seollal holiday and immediately showed strength, nearing the 6,000 mark thanks to Samsung Electronics. The Kospi surged more than 3% on Thursday, surpassing the 5,600-point mark for the first time in history. After being closed for 3 working days due to the Seollal holiday, the Kospi opened strong and closed at 5,677.25.
It appears the overall rise in the U.S. stock market over the 2 days of the Seollal holiday gave a sense of relief to the domestic market. Additionally, expectations for the semiconductor industry remain very strong.
In fact, the rally was primarily fueled by a semiconductor boom, with market bellwether Samsung Electronics leading the charge. Shares of the tech giant jumped and closed at an all-time high of 190,000 won, up 4.85% from last Friday. This was largely bolstered by reports of higher pricing for its next-generation AI memory chips. The secondary tech-heavy Kosdaq index also experienced a dramatic surge, jumping nearly 5% to close at 1,160.71. The rapid ascent in Kosdaq 150 futures and spot prices triggered a buy-side sidecar, a regulatory measure that temporarily suspends program buy orders for 5 minutes to curb excessive market volatility. Experts note that after the rise in the Kospi, the government is now looking at the Kosdaq to make policy changes that will help it grow. And anticipation over the government's efforts is now being reflected in the market. Despite the stock market rally, the Korean won weakened against the US dollar, with the exchange rate closing at 1,445.51 per dollar. This comes against a backdrop from the latest U.S. Federal Reserve meeting minutes that revealed a split among policymakers, leading investors to trim expectations for interest rate cuts. This bolstered the U.S. dollar globally. 이수진, 아리랑 뉴스. As preparations for Seollal, the Lunar New Year, got underway, foreign visitors experienced the holiday spirit firsthand, exploring a bustling traditional market and joining hands-on cooking classes. Our Cho Young-eun was there.
The Mangwon Market in Western Seoul is at the heart of the Seollal rush. Amid the familiar bustle, foreign tourists are stepping into this everyday routine, side by side with local residents. They lean in close to examine dried red gochu peppers, running their fingers over the rough texture. Deeper in the alley, the air grows thick with the scent of freshly cooked street food. The group slows down in front of a stall stocked high with warm Korean twisted donuts, known locally as 꽈배기. One tourist gathers the courage to try a simple phrase in Korean.
도넛 12개 주세요. 야, 12개.
There's a brief exchange of gestures and laughter between the vendor and the tourist, who soon turns around triumphantly, a paper and bag, enough for everyone. They tear the donuts apart while the sugar is still warm, and the first bite is soft and chewy.
맛있어요.
Their journey continues as they handpick fresh produce and ready-made side dishes. They listen carefully to explanations about cabbage, radish, and garlic, learning what goes into a traditional holiday table. From shopping high-quality ingredients to tasting some street food, foreign visitors are heading to local markets like this one to have a deeper taste of Korea. After shopping, the visitors move on to a cooking class, where they turn those fresh ingredients into must-try symbolic dishes. They catch the scent of various ingredients, including Korean sesame leaves, as they are being cut. The room quickly fills with the loud, energetic sizzle of jeon, Korean pancakes made by pan-frying vegetables, seafood, and meat. This beloved traditional dish is a staple of Seollal celebrations, often prepared in large batches and shared among family members.
I think it's just beautiful to see the whole process and the history and how it's, just a part of life here. It's cool to step into it for a little bit.
The experience of a more traditional and formal style of jeon is something special, and that's why foreigners come to the cooking class.
For foreign visitors, this hands-on experience provides a deeper understanding of how food, family, and tradition come together during Korea's most important holiday. 조영은, Arirang News.
As families across Korea prepare traditional meals for Seollal, some are making sure that their pets are part of the celebration too. Special cooking classes are now teaching owners how to prepare Lunar New Year dishes designed especially for their furry companions. Chung Il-im reports.
At a pet food store in Anyangsi, Gyeonggi-do Province, a customer is with a furry friend. They are here to make tteokguk, a traditional Korean dish of rice cakes in broth. The warm dish holds special meaning in Korea, symbolizing becoming a year older once you finish it. And it is a staple food Koreans eat for Seollal, the Lunar New Year. With the dog watching filled with anticipation and slight hunger, the one-day cooking class begins. When it comes to cooking for pets, the instructor says safety comes first. The rice cakes are made with rice flour, and natural ingredients such as broccoli and red yeast are used for coloring. After kneading and shaping the colorful dough with care, it is added to a bowl of broth. And the tteokguk is complete, looking delicious enough to be served at any dinner table. The moment of truth arrives and the bowl is licked clean in seconds, proving that the effort was well worth the wait.
People visit more and more on holidays since Chuseok. Owners know pets feel left out, so they like to make the food themselves to share the feast truly.
It's a similar scene in stores across the capital. Here at a pet bakery in Songpa-gu, Seoul, another kitchen is full of hungry friends. The participants make the same dish in a different style, jorengi tteokguk, where the rice cakes are peanut-shaped. They also learn how to make yakgwa cookies, a modern interpretation of the traditional Korean sweet treat.
I wanted to cook them a healthy meal with my own hands and really share the New Year spirit together.
People love giving their dogs food that resembles their own. By making it cute with dog-friendly ingredients, it feels like we're truly celebrating as a family.
A central part of Seollal is welcoming the new year with the warm meal with your family. And for Koreans today, family doesn't just mean someone who shares their DNA. Chung Il-im, Arirang News.
South Korea has captured its first women's short track relay gold in 8 years, marking the nation's second gold medal at the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. Lee Seung-jae reports.
South Korea won the women's 3,000-meter short track relay at the Milan Cortina Winter Olympics on Wednesday, securing its first gold medal in the event in 8 years and its first short track gold of these games. The quartet of Choi Min-jung, Kim Gil-lee, Shim Seok-hee, and No Do-hee crossed the line first at the Milano Ice Skating Arena in Milan, finishing ahead of Italy and Canada. The victory marked South Korea's second gold medal of the Games and its 7th medal overall. Coming into the race, South Korea had managed 1 silver and 2 bronze medals in short track, a modest return by the standards of a nation long considered a powerhouse in the sport. With this win, South Korea extended its lead on top of the all-time Olympic short track standings, with 27 gold medals and 57 medals overall. The race also added to Choi Min-jung's remarkable career. She captured her 6th Olympic medal, tying the record for the most Olympic medals by a South Korean athlete, winter or summer. With her 4th gold, she also matched the former short tracker Chun Yi-kyung for the most Winter Olympic gold medals by a South Korean athlete. Shim Seok-hee now owns 3 Olympic gold medals, all in the 3,000-meter relay. Kim Gi-lee and No Do-hee each celebrated their first Olympic gold, with Kim having earlier taken bronze in the women's 1,000 meters. Lee So-yeon, who skated into the semifinals, was also awarded her first career Olympic gold. Short track concludes Friday with the women's 1,500 meters and the men's 5,000 meter relay. South Korea has reached the relay final, and Che will look to defend her title in the 1,500 meters for a third consecutive games. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
That brings us to the end of Weekly News Highlights. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.